One thing riders don't account for when budgeting for a motorcycle is the cost of the protective gear, especially the cost of motorcycle helmets, as this is often the most expensive and I believe the most critical piece of gear that a rider wears. So I thought this week we'd have a discussion on the topic of full-face helmets and some of the other options available to the rider. For those of you who are totally new to riding motorcycles or new to helmets, let me explain some of the options that you've got. So this is what's called a full-face helmet, and it offers the best protection for your head, so the upper part of your head and your entire face. So basically everything from your neck up, this is going to do a good job of protecting your head from the neck up. In my opinion, a slight step down for safety reasons from a full-face helmet is a modular helmet. I say it's slightly less safe than a full-face helmet because the mechanism to allow that front part to flip up becomes a weak point in the helmet design, and it doesn't offer the rigidity or the solid structure that you'd get from a full-face helmet. What you gain for in the loss of protection is the ability to flip the front of the helmet up at stops, like if you're getting gas or if you need to talk to somebody. And they're also a little easier to put on, I guess, though I've never had a real issue with the full-face helmet getting it on either. However, they're never designed to ride with that chin bar in the up position, and I've seen riders going down the road with that, the front of the modular helmet in the up position. They're not designed to be ridden that way. Causes drag, if you fall off the bike at speed with that whole part of the helmet in the upward position, it could catch on things and cause issues that way. So for that reason, I've never seen a real need personally for a modular helmet, though I know a lot of people who own them and really like them. Next down from that would be on the safety scale, would be a 3/4 or open-faced helmet. These are the more retro style you see. They've got a totally open face, but generally it comes down and covers the ear, and it goes, around the back. So similar to a full-face helmet minus, all of this. You cut all the chin bar out on those helmets, so it offers, more protection for the side of your head and for the back of it. And, they're become more popular in recent years, and you'll see riders on cafe-style motorcycles with goggles on sometimes or some sunglasses. They offer decent protection for your head, but offer no real protection for your chin or face. And finally, the helmet that probably offers the least amount of protection would be a shell helmet like this. These are sometimes called a skid lid. I've heard them called skid lids. They offer the least amount of protection because they cover the least amount of the rider. Plus, they're held on by these straps. So that's really the only thing that's holding this on. With the full face and even a 3/4 helmet, the back of your head is actually helping hold that helmet on. This kind of sits in place. You get a little bit of form fitting on the top of your head, but not a whole lot. Primary thing is this is holding it on. And because of that, if you go down at speed, these can shift around and get moved out of position where it's not really doing you any good. And if you don't have the buckle fastened securely, you can lose this type of helmet in a crash. So that's something to be aware of as well. But they offer the least amount of protection for a rider, especially as opposed to a full-face helmet and the protection that it would offer. But in the end, a helmet is a tool, and there may be a reason to own different types of helmets. So I used to wear this shell helmet whenever I was teaching a motorcycle safety class. I use this primarily all the time. I still use it from time to time when I'm out on a parking lot and I know I'm going to be doing a whole lot of slow maneuvers. So I needed to communicate with the students when I was teaching a class, and I didn't want to have to, flip a face shield up and down as I was trying to talk to them or take a helmet on and off throughout the day. Plus, I knew when I was riding on the demos, I was never going to be going over 20 miles per hour, and I was on a closed parking lot, so there wasn't a whole lot of threat of traffic. Also, being out in the Texas heat, wearing a full-face helmet, standing out on a hot parking lot all day, you never really get going fast enough to get enough airflow to keep you from overheating on those hot Texas days. And I still carry this with me at times. Even when I taught the class, though, I rode to class and from class on a motorcycle. This was in the saddlebags when I was out on the street with traffic. I'd put it on when I'd teach a class, I'd store it when I was going home at the end of the day and wear my full face helmet when I was out with the traffic out on the road. So we started this video off talking about budgeting for a helmet, and that few riders budget in the cost of the helmet or are surprised at how expensive they are. How expensive of a helmet should you be looking for whenever you're getting into motorcycling? Well, it's kind of a difficult question to answer, and to be honest, I've not researched every helmet that's out there, but as a general rule, you're looking at a very minimum, and I say this is a minimum of $100 to get a full face helmet. You know, HJC's got some models that you can find on Revzilla that come in that 100 to 150 price range, and they offer good protection and some of the same features that you'd get on the showy helmets that I've got over here. So if they're similar in features as some of the more expensive showy helmets, because, you know, these can get, a helmet like this can get, you know, $500 or $600 depending on the designs that you get on it. If you get something that's a solid color like this, I've got a showy GT Air here that's a solid color. If you get something like that, that saves you a little bit money over something with a design on it. Usually around $100, it's going to save you on the higher end helmets to get something that's plain like this, just a solid color. But you can always put an MCrider decal on the back and make it look cool. So you can get solid colors and you can save money. And then this one, I like this GT Air 2 because it's got the drop down internal visor. So that's really nice. Got that eye that stays dilated, so being able to get out of the sun is important to me. So this works well, though this, the drop down does not get as dark as this. This is going to offer me the best protection out on the sunny day to be able to get out of the sun. And I really prefer riding with that dark tinted visor, though you don't want to get caught at night riding with these. So that's something you have to count for and plan for when you're going out for a ride. If you're going to be caught out after dark, you need to either have another visor to switch to, or in this case, I've flipped these up at times riding at night, and I got a pair of clear goggles or, you know, riding glasses that I can put underneath there that will get me home. I don't do a whole lot of riding at night, but that is another option. So if the features, though, on the cheaper helmets and the ones that cost more, a lot of those features are the same, what is it that you're paying for when you get the more expensive helmet? Well, the biggest things that you're paying for when you go up in your price scale are the more expensive helmets are going to generally be lighter. They're going to be made of different materials that offers them to be lighter in weight and offer the same or better protection. And weight's an important factor when you've got one of those things on your head all day. The lighter you can get it, the more comfortable you are likely to be at the end of the day. More expensive helmets are also going to have a better design and build for all the small things. And so on a helmet like this, by the small things, I'm talking about how the visor, the front visor opens and closes, you know, how the vents open and close. These are going to be made better. I've had some cheaper helmets when those are the first things that kind of fail on you is, you know, the small parts of the helmet or places in the liner where it starts coming undone or breaking down. The more expensive helmets, in my experience with them, tend to last longer, and those parts of the helmet are better made on a more expensive helmet than on something that's cheaper. Those more expensive helmets also go through a higher testing method, so that assures their safety. So if you've got a helmet that's gone through a Snell rating, that's one example of a, you know, additional testing that helmet manufacturers can put their helmet through. But a Snell rating costs the manufacturer to get that helmet tested and Snell rated. They, of course, pass that cost on to you, so you pay for it eventually, but that also leads to the higher price of the helmet. So higher rating standards are going to make a more expensive helmet, plus they have to build it to higher standards in order to pass the ratings, but they're going to pass that cost on to you. But one of the bigger differences that a lot of people don't think about is more expensive helmets will have different shell sizes. So the showy helmets, for example, they have a small shell size, so the outside portion of the helmet on a small, the outside portion is smaller than an extra large would be. Extra large would be out here, a small would be in here. That's particularly important if you wear a size small, because then you don't have a gigantic bubble, you know, on your head wearing this gigantic helmet. The way the cheaper helmets get around that is that they use the padding and the foam on the inside to make up the difference for the sizes. Where the more expensive helmets, the manufacturer has different molds for different size helmets. So a small is actually smaller on the outside dimensions than an extra large would be. That makes it more comfortable, safer for the rider, but it costs more to manufacture, so that cost gets passed on to you. And let's face it, you're paying for that sticker that goes on the front as well. So Shoei and Arai, they make great helmets. And if you buy one and it fits you correctly, you can rest assured that you've got a good helmet. But it's just like when I was in high school and you paid for the right to wear that members only jacket, remember those? Or that Nike swoosh on your leather tennis shoes, or that Izod alligator on your shirt, you know, if you were into all that stuff. Those labels cost you, and it's the same with motorcycle helmets. Arai and Shoei, they're proud of their helmets, and they should be, but you're paying for that sticker that goes on the front, and that's going to cost you a little extra right from the start. But let's talk briefly about fit, because if the helmet doesn't fit you correctly, it doesn't matter how much you paid for it. Fit is one of the most important aspects of buying a motorcycle helmet. When it comes to the fit, there are two main things to consider, in my opinion. Is the helmet the right size? So does it fit the size of your head? You know, I can't squeeze my head into a size small helmet. It just doesn't fit. The easiest way to determine that is to put a cloth tape measure around your head. You want to go slightly above your eyebrows, slightly above your ears, and run it all the way around, and then just measure it there in the front. From that number, you can determine, with the help of the helmet manufacturer, what size helmet you would need based on the dimensions of your head. And next, does the internal shape of the helmet fit your head? So not everybody's head is the same shape. Some are oval, so they're more round. Some are oblong, so they're longer, much longer front to back than side to side. In the US, most people are an intermediate oval, which is what I wear. That means you're slightly longer front to back than side to side. And if you have a reputable motorcycle shop, a gear shop in your area, they can help you determine the proper shape of helmets that you're looking for. Then with that information in hand, the size that you need and the shape that you need, you can shop at a local reputable motorcycle apparel shop and let the experts help. Or you can also use information on a site like Revzilla. They plainly have that, you know, in the details of all the helmets that they sell. And you know, they're really good. They're one of the best online at providing that type of information. So if you're searching for an oval or an intermediate oval, you're going to know when you look at the helmet, you know, what size or what shape of head that's going to fit. If you use the link mcrider.com/Revzilla, you'll get the same price on your purchase on Revzilla, but you'll also support MC Rider with a little money back on your purchase. And Revzilla also has got a great exchange and a return policy. So shopping online with them requires some trial and error sometimes to get the proper gear, but you can rest assured that if the helmet's, you know, causing you pain, that you can send it back and exchange it for something that's going to work better. They also have experts that are online you can chat with or call to get information that way as well. But when it comes to helmets, I prefer a full-face helmet, and there are a lot of reasons for that. Like I said, it offers the most protection for everything above your neck. So 3/4 shell helmets might protect your head, but you know, rarely does someone crash and land on top of their head. You're generally moving forward in a crash, and your face and chin are the very likely places that you're going to hit the pavement on. And in a crash, those areas are likely to make contact with hard objects or be dragged along the concrete, and a full-face helmet protects you from that scenario. A full-face helmet also offers full eye protection, so you're protected from bugs and flying debris. Even if you go through an area that's got a lot of dust in it, you know, it generally protects you from dust. Where if you got an open-face helmet with sunglasses on, a lot of dust and dirt can get behind those glasses and get in your eyes. I've had that happen even with the full-face helmet on before, but it's much more a likely scenario if you're riding with just a helmet and sunglasses on. A full-face helmet is also less likely to come unlodged in the event of a crash. You know, something like this at high-speed crashes, you hear about that, you know, frequently. The helmet comes off in a crash and does you no good at that point. I also like to use a Bluetooth device when I ride. So I've got, speakers in the ear that go inside the helmet, and I can hook it up to my phone. That way I can use GPS for directions, or I can listen to music. And a full face helmet is best equipped for those types of devices, though you can get them for, 3/4 helmets, because you can still get speakers in there, and the microphone comes around on a little, stand, a little device that holds it in place for those. But it's just better, in my opinion, in a full face helmet to use a Bluetooth device. I also like the option of using that tinted visor and that drop down visor, or sunglasses underneath it. A lot of riders ride with a clear face shield and put sunglasses on underneath it. I never have liked that, because turning my head, the sunglasses kind of shift and they just bug me. I'd much prefer to have a tinted visor to begin with, or at least have the drop down visor so that I can protect my eyes from the sun. In the end, though, the choice is yours to make, but I believe that there are enough reasons and fewer drawbacks to not make the full face helmet the obvious choice. If, protection and security are your primary objectives for wearing a helmet, though there could be other reasons, like teaching a class, a shell helmet may work for you. For some people, motorcycle fashion is a big deal. So if they ride an adventure motorcycle, they want an ADV style helmet. If they're on a cruiser, you're usually going to find them in a more minimal helmet, 3/4 helmet, or a shell helmet. Sport bike riders are almost always riding in a full face helmet because it's a part of the style, it's a part of the culture. So I have no problem with style and finding something that you like, but I've got a much more pragmatic approach when it comes to my riding gear. So whether you see me riding my Honda Goldwing or my Triumph Rocket 3, or that Honda Trail 125 that I found laying along the deserted Texas dirt road, not really, but some of you didn't realize that was a story last week, and you asked me if I really found it. Some of you accused me of stealing it, which, it's mine. I have a title for it. I could show it to you to prove it. That was just part of the story. But regardless of which one I'm on, which means of transportation, if I'm riding at road speeds with traffic, I'm wearing a full face helmet, even when I've owned and ridden Harleys, which it's not the style for a lot of people, but for me, it's a full face helmet. If you have further questions, the best place to comment and get feedback is with a membership to MCrider. You'll get instant access to the forums and the field guide with practice exercises to take your riding to the next level. Members really allow MCrider to be possible, so thank you to everyone who supports this channel with your membership. Some of you pay monthly, some of you pay annually. I appreciate all of you. So I've heard from a lot of you about last week's video. Some of you disagreed strongly with what I had to say, and you let me know it. Some of you agreed, and you appreciate the conversation, but many of you disagreed with what I had to say. But you have room in your heart to disagree and still appreciate what I do here at MCrider and not take it personally. And believe me, that's the way it was intended. I truly appreciate that mentality, to be able to disagree with someone but not be disagreeable with the person. We may disagree on this part of life, but I still appreciate each and every one of you. Even that guy that called me a plonker, and I had to look that one up to see if it was a compliment or an insult. And my only request from that guy is, if you're going to cuss me out, at least have the decency to do it in Texan, so that I know where I stand without having to look it up. There were all kinds of things you could have called me that would have been instantly recognizable by me, and me not having to translate from King's English to Texas English. You could have said stuff like, he's got a big hole in his screen door. I would have known where we stood. He's got a bubble off plum. He's 1 brick shy of a load. He's 2 sandwiches short of a picnic. He's a few pickles short of a barrel. There's a light or 2 burned out on his string, or he carries his brains in his back pocket. Oh yeah, don't forget, this is Kevin with MCrider. We'll see you guys next week, and maybe we'll see you on the road.